All right, it's 5 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call to order the work session of the East Grand Forks City Council for Tuesday, August 11th, 2026. Would the city administrator please call roll?
Mayor Mark Olstead. Here. Council President Brian Larson.
Here.
Council Vice President Tim Riepel.
Here.
Council Members Tammy Schumacher.
Here.
Ben Pokshavinsky.
Here.
Dale Helms.
Here.
Donald Casey. Here. Karen Peterson.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Just a reminder, we must be complete here by 6 p.m. Due to the primary elections happening downstairs. With that, we'll start on the agenda here for our work session. The first item is the request to advertise for a mechanic position. Mr. Stordahl.
Thank you, Mr. President, Council, Mayor. So Barry, well, first the mechanic, I guess. Huh? Yep. So Ivan Hagen, our mechanic, has resigned, and we're just asking for approval to start the hiring process to fill the vacancy for the Public Works mechanic.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Any questions for Mr. Stordahl? Okay, I don't see any. So let's move on to item 2 then, Jason, the wastewater sampling unit.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So this has been kind of an ongoing process. We've installed some testing manholes to try to narrow down where we're seeing some high-strength waste coming from. We've narrowed it down to one certain area, but we installed 2 testing manholes last year, finished up the concrete this year, and now we need a sampling unit and a flow meter to be able to calculate the strength and the volume of the water that's coming out of there. The surcharges have been very significant, like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so the reason for installing this is trying to determine exactly where the waste is coming from and to try to put a stop to it or appropriately surcharge who's ever depositing the high-strength waste.
Thanks, Jason. How does that unit work? Do you find this service lateral coming out of a certain property and then collect the water for an amount of time, take it to a lab, or how do you get to your analysis?
Yep, that's pretty much how. We single out a couple different lines with the manholes. We have a sampler unit that'll be in there. It's a mobile sampler unit, so we'll be able to move it as needed. And then there'll be a flow meter because you have to get the flow as well to make the equation work to figure out the strength of the waste. So
okay.
Yep.
What are the contaminants that you're looking for?
High TSS is the big one.
What is that?
Total suspended solids. So the amount of basically, I don't know, am I right on this, Dylan? Like the amount of dirt, sand, yeah, okay. That type of stuff that's in there. So it's nothing like, heavy metals or anything like that. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions for Mr. Stordahl? Okay, I think we're good. And then item number 3 here as well, request to advertise to hire a truck driver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So Barry Nelson has given his notice that he'll be retiring at the end of August here, and we would just like to get approval to start the hiring process to fill that vacancy as well as a truck driver position.
All right, thank you. Any questions on the truck driver from the council?
So that's 2 open, essentially, right, for the truck driver? Yeah.
And technically 3, because we have one that we haven't hired back because we're waiting to see what we're going to do with our refuse.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll be down to 1.
Right, but we're actively trying to hire 2.
Yep. Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Any final questions for Jason? Okay, I see none. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item number 4, request to purchase dispatch center radio equipment. Chief Hedlund.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the next phase in our basically getting brand new radio equipment that as our equipment has become obsolete. Motorola only services them for so many years. Our 2 years ago, we replaced all of our portables. Last year, we replaced the mobiles. This is part of the dispatch system, and the next will be in next year's budget. So this is, we had $62,000 budgeted. After re-examining the equipment that we need, Stone's has given us a new quote of a little bit over $54,000, so it is under budget for this year.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Chief. Any questions for Chief Headland on the communications equipment? Okay, I see none.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, the next item here. Reid, looks like you have this one here. Request to promote Paul Hansen to position of fire chief.
All right, thank you, Council President, Council members, and Mayor. As you're aware, we did conduct interviews for the fire chief position, and the recommendation was to promote Paul Hansen to the position of fire chief. We have discussed that with Paul, and he has verbally accepted the position at a grade 22, step 2, which has a 2026 annual salary of $103,982 and 46 cents. So upon council's official approval, Paul's effective date would be August 18th, the date of our meeting next week.
Thanks, Reid. Any questions for Reid on the fire chief? Okay, I see none. All right. We'll move on to item number, Paul, are you here for the next item?
He's up next.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Next one here.
Maybe
Next one here, we've got Interim Chief Hansen. This is a request to begin promotional process for fire department engineer and assistant chief, and request to advertise for hiring a firefighter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, Council, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so if I do get the appointment, that will create vacancies, both anticipated in the assistant chief's role as well as vacancy then. If an engineer gets promoted, it will create that engineer's vacancy, and then that would in turn create that firefighter's vacancy. So all these positions are budgeted in the 2026 budget, so just trying to get the ball moving and get the positions filled as quickly as we can to keep operations running effectively. So just asking for that approval to start those movements.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Hansen? Go ahead, Ben.
I guess my question is this may be a question that I had for Reid last week. How long do you think the entire hiring process will take?
I anticipate the promotional process to be a fairly short-term process, so somewhere in that 4-week neighborhood, maybe even a little bit less. The hiring process, however, that's going to go a little bit longer. We're going to be out towards the end of September before we get done with the advertising and getting the applications back in. We should be past a lot of our vacations by that point, so either way the impacts on the budget with overtime and stuff like that are already going to be absorbed, and there's really not much we can do to stop that at this point with what's going on.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item number 7 then, 2027 department budget request presentations, and we'll turn it over to Mr. Huttunen and Ms. Anderson.
Start. Get myself logged back in and see if my resolution's any better on the computer here.
How do I make it bigger?
All right, that's still not coming through very clear. Apologize. We had this looking great at 3:15 this afternoon, I promise all of you. Can you all, from your councils there, make sense of what's on the screen here?
Yeah, we can read the
You
text.
can read the text enough?
Oh, there.
Okay.
Now when you
Now it's
actually
Yeah,
put it in
pretty good.
presentation mode.
This is probably the smallest text of the 4 presentations we have, so we'll just roll with it and It'll be shared after the council meeting tonight for further review for all of you, and we can put it out for the public to be able to see as well. I think what I'll do is just kind of brief everybody on the plan. We have 4 departments we plan to present tonight as time allows, starting with the EDA. The fire department will go second, Campbell Library third, and then Ms. Anderson and I to cover the administration and finance budgets fourth. The plan this year will be, as I've briefed you on, each department over the course of the next couple of weeks will present on all the budgets. And then when we get to the August 25th work session, Ms. Anderson and I will kind of, again, provide an overview and a summary of the city's budget as a whole and what we're looking at for total operating expenditures and planned revenues for 2027. And that'll really then kickstart the discussions about what a levy would look like for next year. So with that, I think I'll hand it to Maggie to go, and we'll be back around when we get to the admin budget. Okay.
Council members, President and Mayor, thanks for taking an opportunity to review my presentation. So to keep it short and brief, our overall mission is to champion the East Grand Forks economic vitality through supported growth, investment, and development initiatives. As you can see, it's broken out into the 4 core work areas of local development, new business development, connecting and convening through communication, and land and site development. Okay, so the next page talks about the budget. We have 2 funds, so it's very easy. The operational expenses are staying flat this year. We're able to offer a robust offering of services through the current administrative budget, and the only changes on the 620 account are changes due to salaries, benefits, and insurances, which are only seeing about a 5.6% increase. Below is the 280 home fund, and this is the fund that is used for residential lot sales, as you may recall, the Water's Edge properties, and then related builder real estate expenses, mowing, things, pest control for the Water's Edge. And this fund also helps lend out that the $100,000 builder incentive program, as well as the $1,000 lot program. And since the sales are winding down on those sales of the lots, which is good, we're getting close to the end of those, some of the funds have been adjusted. So we're hoping to sell more this year, which is why they're increased. We're expecting the revenue to increase, and then we're expecting expenses to decrease with time. And as you'll see, that bottom line, just so there's awareness that the residential tax abatement program for the newly built homes, that comes out of the general fund. So that gets transferred into this fund and then gets paid out through there. And then the last page, it's just, if there's any curiosity of what we do, our domains and deliverables, we're kind of the one-stop shop for people starting, expanding, and building a business in East Grand Forks. I like to call myself the concierge. So if you're looking for funding or space, we can help point you in that direction. And these various activities occur throughout the year. So some of them are administrative, some of them are working with developers, calls with startups. Approximately 63% of businesses are locally owned in town. 57% are established, which means they're 11 years and older, and 32% of businesses are prospective to scaling, so they're 0 to 10 years old, which is awesome. This is a healthy mix. Obviously, we'd like to see more startups. That way we can keep refilling and moving to more established businesses over time. We also have an annual report from last year, but some of the highlights include over 60 businesses were visited, more than 70 businesses had assistance through phone calls. We had over 180 meetings with local businesses, over 350 emails, and different business support projects. We had over 75 hours spent on that. And the cool thing is we just made an EDA website, so we know through different pings and views that we've had 1,600 user visits, with 74% of them being new visitors, and most people looked at about 2 pages. And then the biggest type of ask that we get is help with grants and incentives. So I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Maggie. Any questions for Ms. Brockling? Just curious on the home sales, how many lots are left out there?
I believe there's 7 left, and that includes that 3.5 acre PUD.
Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Council President, Mayor, members of the council. I'm just going to start out at the beginning just a little about our department. We have 10 full-time employees right now, well, 9 right now, looking for the authorization to get back to 10, and then 23 paid on call firefighters. So we're sitting minus that 1 full-time employee. We're sitting on a full staff right now. First 6 months of this year, we're at 635 calls, which is about average. We've slowly been climbing a little bit every year, but we're on par this year to last year. In 2025, we instituted a drone program with purchase assistance from the Relief Association, so they purchased that drone. The city supported the program, so we're paying for the pilots and those things, which is a minimal cost to keep those pilots active. $40,000 in local grants in 2025, so that's all stuff coming locally. MBFTE, which is firefighter training, DT Midstream, so that's Viking Gas, Greater Northwest EMS, and then of course American Crystal. So that was very beneficial for our department. And then we completed, or almost completed, we're waiting for the granite block for that flagpole project, which was a much needed improvement at the fire station, put a flag out front. So that flag had been missing for many, many years, so I'm very happy to have that. So with that, I'll kind of go into the budget here a little bit. We have 2 separate budgets, fire admin and protective services. So the fire admin budget this year, we're looking at $183,005, $22,000 reduction in wages due to Chief Bushy retiring, and if authorized, my wage going into next year. So the only increase in that particular is a $2,000 increase in our communications. So that's where our cell phones, our mobile stuff inside of our vehicles comes from. The increase comes from trying to add active comms. It's a paging software for our callbacks, trying to enhance our callbacks a little bit is what we're looking at there. With that, I'll move into fire protection. So I skipped one. Fire protection, total budget, $1,647,156. One of the big increases that you'll see here in front of you is a $33,000 increase in that Fire Relief Association. That comes back direct to the city. So that is a 0 increase cost to the city. We're just trying to get it closer to what it actually is every single year. It's basically, it's a 2% of insurance premiums that comes back for that Relief Association pension. $63,000, almost $64,000 increase in wages and salaries. That's the increase on contractual wages. Again, it's a little bit less than what it would normally have been due to the promotional processes and things like that are happening, so it's actually held down a little bit. $10,000 increase in overtime. Our overtime costs are increasing with our salaries and wages increasing as well, so just a $10,000 increase there. Uniforms increased to $2,000. We have a $7,300 contractual obligation to cover those increases, so that's why that increase is there. Small tools and equipment, there's a $7,000 increase here. We are, by the end of 2029, we have to replace every single one of our SCBA bottles by DOT standards. They're good for 15 years. They were purchased on a grant almost 15 years ago, so we're budgeting 10 bottles every single year till the end of 2029. The price of those bottles has substantially increased over the years. We're looking at about $1,500 a bottle, so it's a $15,000 increase just in that one alone. And then PPE as well. Our turno gear, there again, that's a 10-year. We got them on a grant years ago. We have now gotten ourselves into a rotation on that turno gear, looking to continue that rotation. That is mandated by OSHA. So we're looking at an estimated cost of about $4,300 to $4,500 per year per set of turno gear. So that's on that one. Repair and maintenance, $3,000 increase. We're just seeing more increases in our repair and maintenance just like everyone else is. We're seeing more having to outsource things. Our abilities in-house are starting to become less due to technology and things like that. We're doing as much as we can in-house, but there is still some stuff that has to go out. A couple of minor reductions here. Our cleaning services is a $500 reduction, $200 reduction in custodial services just we don't use them as much as we used to, so we're doing a lot more of that in-house as well. So overall, so total budget between fire admin and for protective services is $1,836,620, $120,000 increase in expenses, $50,000 increase in revenue for a $71,000 net increase on the budget. Next couple slides here, we're going to talk a little bit about capital improvement. So last year, the year before, we had a MOU signed and put in place between the city and the rural, the 7 surrounding townships, on a 30-year replacement plan. So we're coming up on that 30-year replacement plan now. This is the engine that would be replaced, 409, which is solely owned by the rural at this point. We are looking at about $1.1 million to replace that fire engine right now, which would bring the city's share to about $660,000. There are several advantages to paying it up front. We get the interest back, so you save about 4.5% per year if we pay for it up front. So right now, the lead time on these things, so this is a 26-year-old engine. NFPA is saying 25. We're pushing them out to 30. Lead time on these is anywhere from 20 to 36 months. I know that's a big range, but that's what we're hearing. So, and that's pretty much across the board, whoever we talk to. Pickup budgeted at $60,000. So this pickup is was received from Enbridge. It's got 157,000 miles on it. It was a donation from Enbridge. Some of our previous mechanics that had worked on it said don't use that to pull anything. It's got a weak transmission in it. So looking at trying to replace that as well in 2027. And then Station 2. We still have Station 2 budgeted in for 2027 at an estimated cost of $1.2 million. So we had a whole presentation on that. I'm not going to go way off kilter on that. So with that, that's what I'm looking at or requesting in requests for 2027. With that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Paul. Any questions? Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Question on the scuba bottles.
Yep.
Do we think the price of the bottles is going to go up every year?
So yeah, they do. Right now, I got a bid from a vendor. They're at $1,435. I'm working with them right now. We are actually anticipating a price increase in September. So we are budgeted this year to get bottles. I'm working with them, so you may see a request before you sooner than later to get the ones that are supposed to be replaced in 2026. So yeah, we're seeing an increase on them almost every year.
Do you think it'd be wise to just purchase them all now?
That's definitely up to council. I mean, we can definitely do it that way, but we're going to be facing the same thing 15 years from now. You know, do we want them? And I really don't have a preference one way or the other. I can go with them expiring in 15 years again and having to purchase them in a bundle, or do we want to spread those costs out? And I'm open to whatever council wishes to do on that. If your wishes are, we would need 42 of them.
I'm just wondering, if we're buying 10 now, 10 next year, and then 10 the year after that, how much each year would we save incrementally if we just, bought all of them at once? Are we saving just a couple $1,000s, or is it like 10 or 15,000?
Well, I estimated if they go up $100 a year, even on this year's budget, let's say that bottle goes up $100, I'm buying 10 of them, and that's $1,000. So you take that times 40, you're at $4,000, and then you do that every single year until you're to 2029. Yeah, there's the possibility of that. It's just we're giving up that 5 years of life, and I don't know that we would be able to sell them. I've had some conversations about trying to sell some of the ones this year to recoup some of the costs, and there just really isn't much appetite for anybody to buy them because they're only good for 5 more years, and they got to get rid of them.
Right. Do we only have to replace 10 this year, or do we actually not need to replace them?
We actually don't need to replace any this year. We're trying to get a rotation into place so that moving forward 15 years from now, when we have to do this again, we're just replacing those 10. We're trying to get them back into a rotation.
Sure.
That's the anticipated goal.
Okay.
So, I mean, we can push that entire cost off till 2029 if we want. We're just going to push the whole thing off then.
I was just curious if it's like a huge cost savings to just buy them all now.
I can make a call tomorrow and get back to you and let you know what I find.
If it's only $1,000 or whatever it is, then I don't know. Having it spread out over 3 years might be the better option.
Yeah, long term.
Long term.
Probably a better option long term. Yep.
All right.
Okay. Go ahead, Karen.
So when you're talking about purchasing a new truck, the actual fire engine, is there any thought process in purchasing or any benefit to purchasing refurbished units as opposed to brand new?
I guess we haven't looked a whole lot into refurbished, but I can tell you the experience that we have with the one that we currently refurbished. Our rescue truck was refurbished in 15, I don't know the exact date. We're starting to see a lot of wear on the box side of it. If we refurbish, depending on what they do with the pump, we've taken our pumps apart and looked inside of them, and there's a lot of cavitation, a lot of corrosion that happens inside of those pumps. So are we paying big money to put a new pump in it? And then if we're anticipating using them for 30 years, do we have to shorten that time span because of the refurbished? So that's the offset cost benefit that we would have to evaluate there.
Yep, that's great.
Okay, any other
Okay.
questions?
I have a
Go ahead,
question.
Tammy.
Do you know how much overtime you had?
Yeah, so I believe, I can get you exact numbers, but we're right in the neighborhood of what we refer to as mandatory overtime, around 100 hours a year per employee.
100 hours?
Yep.
Okay.
We, by federal law, are mandated to pay them overtime if they work an entire shift. They work over what federal law permits. It's a very long conversation that I'd be happy to have with you guys, but it's going to take more than 10 minutes that we got tonight to explain the whole thing. But by all means, come in and I will sit down and explain that FLSA in depth if you want it.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I think we're good for now, Paul. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the library.
Double rainbow.
I took this photo off of our website, so I don't know who to credit it to, but I really liked that. Okay. I first want to say that it's really exciting to kind of propose what we're going to do for the next year, and I've spent the last couple of months really trying to understand what the library budget is and the funding that has already been allocated, and it was really neat to see the ways that the city has already invested in the library, so I appreciate that. I want to start out talking about our library staff because a lot of our funding requests are related to our staff wages, and so I wanted to kind of give you a picture of that, but we do have a couple of staff members here. Do you mind raising your hand? I invited them all to come and attend one so they can see what City Council does and how we kind of advocate for the things that they do every day. We do also have art in the park right now, so a lot of our staff are busy at the library as well. I broke it down based on our librarians. We have 3 full-time librarians, Andrea, Linnea, and Robin. And then we have the director, me. Mel is our part-time IT person that we share with Water and Light. And then we have a maintenance worker, Sunny. And then we have 8 part-time staff members. And collectively, our part-time staff members work more hours than our librarians do. And they make up about 45% of our total worked hours, to give you some context. And then we have a lot of volunteers as well, too, which don't cost the city any funds, but we really rely on their continued effort. So we appreciate that. We have currently 7,837 active patrons, meaning that they have an active library card. So in the last year, they have come into the library and checked out something from us, and therefore are like renewed in our system. This includes both residents and non-residents, youth and adult, military, and teachers as well too. And then last year we were open for more than 2,700 hours as well. So our services really expand throughout the week and until 8 p.m. 3 days a week, and then we're open on Saturdays as well to kind of give you a glimpse of what it means to be at the library. We have 4 main budgets that I'll kind of go through, and I try not to throw too many numbers up there, and no matter how I try to pull it down and pare it down, it's still kind of crazy because we have a lot of line items. So I'll kind of work through the main changes, but then you please ask questions, whether we're on the slide or if you want to wait till the end, I'm fine with that as well. The admin budget includes salary for myself, and then also our support aide position, and then our IT support as well. There's not a lot of major changes in this portion of the budget. Really, the biggest things are that we need some new office chairs, so those are included for in our small tools and equipment. I would like to request some training and professional development funds for our part-time staff. Historically, full-time staff get funded every year, but then as you saw that our part-time staff make up 45% of the hours worked, and there has not been consistent professional development. So to have some staff training available to them, it is at a lower rate than what our full-time staff receive, but trying to have at least $200 a staff member that they could go somewhere local or sign up for some sort of professional development. At this point, I'm not asking for travel expenses for them because there are 8 staff, and that would be something that maybe in future years that we ask for, and trying to weigh what we can ask for now and what we can set the precedents for in future years. The biggest difference for admin budget is we would like to create a marketing position. This is not really creating it per se. We would like to convert one of our existing staff or part-time staff positions to a marketing and communication specialist, with that title to be decided after we work with the HR consultant. I'll talk about that position kind of at the end of the presentation, but really wanted to throw it out there that if we were to create that, then that would do a lot of great things for this, and is not creating a position, more so just converting one that we're already using them in that way. So we'll get there. And then you'll notice too that some of our items have kind of moved to new budget items, and I was not trying to make it convoluted, but as I looked at every budget item and looked at everything we've purchased in the last 4 years, realizing that some of the purchases were taken out of one budget line item one year, and then the next year was taken out of another, and then it would flip-flap. And so really trying to delineate where it made sense to pull things out of. And so I tried to mark those, that if something increased from one year to the next, I marked whether or not it was a new fund or if it just kind of got adjusted a little bit to a new line item. A little bit about our library collection as we move into talking about our circulation budget. When you think of the library, usually books are what come to mind, but when you look at the number of items that we actually provide, books are only a portion of it. And so we do, I won't read all of those necessarily, but I wanted to give you a glimpse of the fact that we have books, both hardcover and paperback, but we also have large print. We have a portion of our population who is low vision, and so we're trying to meet the needs of them. So we have a large number of large print items as well too. We have items all across the lifetime, from really early literacy for kids who can't quite read yet, need an adult to read with them, all the way up across the lifetime. We also have audiovisual materials, electronic materials like audiobooks and ebooks, which are really popular, and there's a growing demand on that. Also, as context, the Grand Forks Library recently changed their policy with e-materials so that non-residents can no longer access them. So that has kind of impacted people that live on our side of the river and surrounding communities. So they're coming to us for more resources in that way too. It also is an accessibility thing that you can change the size of the font. You can have it read to you so it meets disability needs as well. And so there are some increased funds of that we'll talk about. We also have a library of things where you can check out stuff like learning to cook or to work on stuff, or robotics, and kind of some of those non-traditional ways that people are reaching out to libraries as well. And then even things like state park passes, which were really popular this summer as well, and so on. For our circulation budget, one of the kind of biggest shifts that you'll see, I pulled one of our librarians out of this budget and moved her to the program budget because her activities were being counted in the program budget and her supplies came out of that budget, but her salary and professional development and insurance came out of this budget. But if in transparency of trying to show what your money is being used for, I moved her salary down to where her items were being marked every year, or where we were tracking those. So a lot of the shifts there are because of that. Other than that, our collection budget kind of has stayed consistently the same with a little bit of adjustments based on the need of the community and patron use. So for instance, periodicals, we dropped that down a little bit because people don't read magazines as often as they used to. Newspapers stay the same amount, but shifting some of that material away from periodicals and into e-materials. So again, it's not necessarily asking for more there, but shifting it. One of the biggest things that I would like to ask for is a part-time staff wage increase, and again, I'll get to that at the end, and so that would be one of the biggest impacts in this. Let me see. The other thing, we moved some of our subscriptions out of here. Our subscriptions are the annual software that we pay for, like Overdrive, which is our Libby app, if you're familiar with that, or Evergreen, which is our library management system. Those have annual fees associated with them, and they were kind of split between multiple line items or even admin budget and circulation, trying to really link them so that consistently over the years it would make sense. Okay. With our programs, we do a lot of programming. Actually, that's one of the things that I loved about the library coming into this, that we have intergenerational programming. We have programming for early literacy. We have hands-on and experiential learning. And if you've ever come to our library during any of our program events, it's a very vivid and active place. So I encourage you to come hang out there. To give you context, for our summer reading program, we had 145 kids that participated, which is fantastic. And if you look at studies across the country, there's something called the summer slide, that kids leave school knowing this much. By the time they get back to school in September, they lose some of that knowledge if you're not actively engaging in that. And so we look at how people learn and try to meet those needs in non-traditional and kind of fun, exciting ways, and get kids active and learning, and then also getting parents and across generations involved as well. A little bit about our program budget. We get a lot of grant and community support funding for this. So since 2022, we've actually brought in over $87,000 to support our programs. And so when we look at the budget, it'll look a little different, but that's because we're trying to account for and show what programs actually cost. And then we are still actively trying to get grants in the in next year and then the coming years, but trying to make it known what these things actually cost. Another thing that I think is worthy of highlighting, we talk a lot about family and early literacy, but we also have programs such as driving to Good Samaritan twice a month, that our public services librarian and a part-time staff member drive over to Good Sam and bring cartons of books with them and have a mobile library. And when you think of how people access materials, that not everyone is able to go to the library. And so next year we're really leaning into more community events outside of the library, partnerships with schools. We just met with the principal of the high school today, and community education, trying to build some of those partnerships so that we can continue to meet the needs outside of the library. Okay. As noted before, a public services librarian, her salary and insurance and FICA and para were moved into this, so those look dramatically different, but it was just shifted down. You'll notice that under general supplies, it went from $2,800 to $7,800. That's the actual cost of programs, and again, a lot of that is grant and community support funded, but because you have to plan these things months in advance, and there's no guarantee that we get it, trying to show that if we want to continue to do the things that we're committed to do, or the partnerships that we say that we're going to do, just making sure that it is accounted for in the budget. What I found out when I came onto the library was that when the funds aren't there in the budget, our library staff have been paying for them out of pocket, and I would like to try to avoid that they should not have to pay for things out of their own paycheck in order to meet the needs of the community, knowing that for the most part we do fund most of this through grant funds, or the community has stepped up in that way as well too. And then you'll see, again, training fees requested for our part-time staff member as well. Some of the goal areas that we have for 2027 are focusing on the middle grade, like middle school book club. We have summer reading program caps at 5th grade, and so once they get into middle school, we've identified a gap in that. And so we've had parents and the kids themselves really advocating for kind of the next step up. And so we've identified a book club would be a way to meet those needs, and kind of working with the schools or kind of trying to reach out to have those continued partnerships as well too. We also would like to look at young adult and teen programs, because again, once they age out of the upper elementary school, then we kind of identified a gap in non-family but individual sorts of programming. Also collaborations with area agencies and trying to reach not only to nonprofits that exist in the community, but organizations and businesses as well. And then reaching community members that traditionally have not thought to come to the library as well. Our building budget is our last kind of category of our budget. The things really, the increases are here because of inflation or the rising cost of utilities, that really we haven't added a lot. One of the only things that we added is under the custodial services, added a couple of $1,000s so that we can have our carpets cleaned more often, and some of those kind of deep clean or our windows cleaned. Traditionally, we've had volunteers that help with window cleaning, but having a professional service will also help make sure that we're identifying any issues in our windows or sealant, or when you have a trained professional, having that up close kind of involvement, I think, will help protect some of the windows a little long term. Okay, let's see. Capital projects. We have two that you are already aware of, the replacing the gutters, which is planned for 2028, and then also window replacement in 2030. We did have some sealant, it was last year, about $14,000 was spent to seal the outside of our windows, but then we did get some water during last week's rainstorm that came in through the windows, and so those are things that will need to be planned out, and with the amount of windows that we have, just making sure that you're aware of that. The other things, we would like to replace the seating around the library, and you see some pictures there that we do have some very old upholstered seats, and they are upholstered and very hard to clean, and so either we pay for carpet cleaning or upholster cleaning every year and multiple times a year to have them sitting, or we can replace them and get more use or longer use out of them. They are very out of date and not really functional, and as far as accessibility standards, really leaning into chairs around the library that can be used in more ways than what we currently offer. You notice right there in the middle, there's a green chair and then a wooden bench. The green chair came from my house when I started, because as a parent, when I would hang out in that spot with my kids, I'm too old to sit on a wooden bench for very long. So we brought that green chair in and had 3 comments in the first week about how nice it was to have seating. That was a good indication that we should start planning for that as well. So that is the equipment cost of $14,000 to replace the seating throughout the library. I also am in the process of putting together a proposal for a rain garden. Rain garden is a way of filtering rain or storm water around the library. It also helps with the ecological benefits. Native plants are planted in there, so it helps with our sustainability or ecological score for the city as well. Dylan Nelson from Public Works has come over, and these are actually his projected images. And you see on the left-hand side, the red squares directly around the library are where the rain garden is proposed to go. He's done some calculations of how many square feet of a rain garden we would need to handle the rainwater that comes off of our roof. Right now, if you come to the library, there's a lot of damage on the sidewalk and the curbs going into the parking lot, which creates a safety issue. We know that 2 people have fallen in the last year because of the sidewalk issue, so those need to be dealt with immediately. But then as you look at, there's gutter issues, there's sidewalk issues, there's parking lot issues because of water that sits in places and then it freezes and then it cracks. My thought is, instead of continuously trying to patch it, which they've done in the past where they've mud jacked and tried to raise it up, and it hasn't worked in some areas because there seems to be some erosion or some bigger issues down below, and so a rain garden would not only address the issues right now, but also would provide kind of long-term control of that, so we don't have to continuously every couple of years throw thousands of dollars into this maintenance. It also, again, increases it's beautiful, but then would help with the sustainability score that helps with that. Dylan, as he was putting this together, mentioned that there are stormwater enterprise funds. I might be saying that wrong, but that we think that between that fund and grants that we would actually be able to pay for a large portion of this, and there wouldn't be a big impact on general funds for the city. We don't have those numbers yet because we're working with Steve Emery with Widseth to put together a proposal to even start really planning this out to see what that would look like. But we wanted you to be aware of that. On the left-hand side, you also see a red square in the kind of corner, right-hand corner. I would like to propose that while we're doing concrete work, that we also open up the south end of our parking lot near the apartment complex and Opticare. If you've ever come to our library during any of our events, it kind of backs up traffic on two separate streets around the library, which then creates a safety issue as you have kids kind of darting in between cars or people trying to curve into our parking lot. And so I'm proposing that we work with the apartment complex and Opticare to get a right-of-way so that we can open it up and have, whether it's a two-way traffic in and out or just an exit only, to kind of ease some of those traffic jams around our library as well. And that is something that Charlotte had recommended that we do, as kind of as she's passing the baton of something that she has had in her mind for years. So figure if you're already going to pay for concrete work, to rope that in and save yourself some money long term. I'd like to now talk about our staff proposals, and I do not have final numbers for you yet because we are working with HR consultants that I've kind of, as we pulled all the numbers and me trying to understand the numbers and working with HR and putting together this for the HR consultants. We will have those numbers for you in the coming weeks. I did some rough estimates based on what I would assume that this would be, and then final numbers can come later. With that marketing position, I propose that the support aide position, which is really acts as an administrative aide for the director, it is currently part-time, whereas other departments have a full-time administrative aide at a much higher salary. I have multiple part-time people that work, kind of fill those roles, but this support aide position is already doing the majority of our marketing and communications things, but we're not paying her for the work. And so she's doing the same sort of job that other administrative aides are doing, but is making a significantly less salary. Additionally, marketing positions are standard across libraries across the United States. The Grand Forks Library, for instance, has a full-time marketing person. Grand Forks Park District has a full-time marketing person. The Community Foundation or Women's Fund has one. So when you look at other agencies that do sort of similar community work, they all have someone that does this, and we do not. There's not one in the city for any of the departments, and so this would be something that potentially other departments could utilize as well too. Additionally, as we lean more into grants, having a marketing person that can help with narratives, that can help with the visuals, and really help pull together the vision of what we have is shown to help with grants. And so that would be, hopefully we would recoup some of that money in that way. Additionally, the person that is in this role already has a bachelor's degree in arts and graphic design. And so they, again, we are using them in ways that we are not currently paying for. And so for equality of the ways that we use our staff and being able to pull those duties into one collective, we would like to ask for that. And then a living wage for our part-time staff. As I mentioned, that we currently have 8 part-time staff. Wages start at $12.83 an hour, which is only $1 and some change more than minimum wage. To give context, the Grand Forks Library starts at over $15 an hour for similar positions. Living wage, according to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology for Polk County, is $20.66 an hour for full-time work. And so knowing that our employees only work between 16 and 25 hours a week, that we are far below what living wage standards are. Additionally, when you look at the tasks that they do and the skills that are required, it is an indefinite, which permanent position. It's not seasonal, but they are currently on the seasonal pay scale. Additionally, it's a professional job that requires professional and technical skills. So to give some context, we do require things like CPR training, first aid. They've been trained in Narcan, de-escalation, conflict resolution, and with the amount of people that come through our library, knowing that our part-time staff are the first ones that engage with the public, that we require those trainings. And arguably, other positions that are part-time or have these specialty trainings are paid at a much higher wage as well. So just asking for that equality across positions. And so I put together a proposal that we would move them to the full-time wage scale, even keep the part-time hours, but that we would start them around grade 7 at $19.32 an hour. And then I did some rough calculations of what they would make in these positions, accounting for how long they've been there and what their skill sets are and degrees and backgrounds. And I would estimate that including the marketing position and bringing the other 7 positions up to a living wage would be an increase of roughly $69,000, which to have 8 people come up to a living wage overall is well, I think it's a good price, but again, I'll get you final numbers once the HR consulting comes back. I did want to share a little bit about our staff to give you context of who we have working there. One of our part-time employees has worked here for 45 years. 4 of our part-time employees have bachelor's degrees. 3 of the part-time employees have graduate credits or are currently in graduate school. And our part-time employees provide nearly 45% of the library's total hours as well. I'll keep talking, but I figured I'd give you a chance to ask me questions.
All right. Thank you, Lacey.
Yeah.
Any questions for Lacey on her presentation?
I just have a quick comment.
Go ahead, Dale.
You could see by the numbers there that most of the budget for the library is probably wages. They operate under very, very little expense and money for programs and stuff like that. So they run a pretty tight budget over there. So.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Tammy, then we'll go to Karen.
I'm just curious, what would it look like if you didn't have all those part-time employees? Like, what would the effect be?
Yeah, it's a great question. So as I came on, we were down 2 part-time employees, and I'll tell you the amount of hours that either Charlotte or myself spent at the circulation desk and the inability to do kind of this more I want to call it academic, that's not the right word. These projects that require a lot of thought and in-depth, you can't do that in a customer service sort of position. And so every time that we don't have someone at the circulation desk, it pulls our full-time employees or the director to go and sit, because it is a customer service position that we have people that come up regularly and you're being interrupted consistently to provide those services, which we love in that position. But then that means that we continuously pull our full-time employees and then they're not able to do that position, and additionally you're paying a much higher wage for full-time staff to then do the part-time staff's position. And so we are currently back up to full-time or fully staffed, which there are still some shifts throughout the week that we are very thinly covered because of the amount of hours that we're allowed for our part-time. And so I will say that having them there is an amazing resource. It's also really neat to see the type of care that they have, that if you've gone into a library, you think, again, books, but we help people with questions about where in the city to get things like plat maps, or how they, we got multiple questions about voting today, for instance. We have people that come in that need help with citizenship paperwork, court or custody or child support sorts of things. We teach people how to use computers, how to find resources, how to study for school, how to be successful in school, that really when you think of what a community needs in order to be successful, that our staff really help kind of fill those gaps and provide those services. Did that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Karen.
I really don't have any questions. I just, want to say your passion is amazing.
Thank you.
Right. I also wanted to say that I did have somebody comment about your Art in the Park program.
Yeah.
And they said it was phenomenal, like one of the best community experiences that they've ever had.
Thank you.
So,
I'll pass
nice
it
work.
along to Andrea. She's there right now, so I appreciate
Right.
that.
The other thing that I thought was super intriguing was the idea about going to the nursing homes twice a month. One thought process would maybe be to work with your Meals on Wheels
Yes.
to help to reach out to that population that might be a little bit more homebound but want to have access to your facility.
Yeah, that's a wonderful suggestion, and actually one that we've talked about. One of the things that would be the limiting factor is how we get them back. And we've looked at other programs around the country provide postage, where you actually drop off like a box with prepaid postage where they could bring it back, or set up again that volunteer route to go around and to pick them up. We did at one point have homebound delivery, that our librarian would go and bring those to those individuals. That is labor intensive, and so the Meals on Wheels is one that we're hoping to partner with. Absolutely.
Great. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I think we're good for tonight.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. We got 5 more minutes left. Reid and
I would just suggest maybe let us off the hook and we'll pick it up next week.
Let you off.
see what the council says.
I'm not going to let you off the hook.
No, I think it's good. We wouldn't want to cut you off mid-sentence there. So
Yeah.
that would bring us to the end of our agenda then.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for the presentations. I really like this model. I think this is a great evolution. Helps us get to know everyone and all of the wonderful things that are happening among the city. So thanks for all the work that went into these presentations. We look forward to future conversations. They might get tougher, I guess, is kind of the process, but that's okay. We're going to get to the right answer. So with that, we're at the end of our agenda. We're looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Peterson, second by Helms. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Meeting is closed. Thank you.